The movie begins with a pregnant woman trying to find a spider, while the grown-ass man holds an umbrella with the sun out cause he think he Asian. And when she finds a rare spider and flexes it to her homies, the wannabe Asian umbrella man shoots her homies and takes the spider. Cause bro heard a legend it can maybe grant superhuman powers. Then he runs off after he shoots that woman, and while she's dying, some cringy-ass Walmart versions of low-budget Spider-Man come to the rescue and takes her back to the crib to try to save her, letting a special spider bite her, only for her to end up dying after childbirth. And 30 years later in 2003, the baby grew up to play 50 Shades of Grey. She's a paramedic and her name is Cassie. And when a kid skates in the middle of the road and almost dies, she flips her off. And when Cassie gets home, she still has photos of her mom despite growing up at a foster home. Then one day when Cassie and her short king coworker attempts to try to save a man from a car accident, they do so successfully as Cassie decides to stay in the car and wait for it to drop since she either hates her life or is a fan of 13 Reasons Why. And instead of drowning, she ends up getting her powers, and when the short king brings her back on land, she starts seeing glimpses of the future, such as knowing her oxygen level is 89. It's 89, oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the villain who betrayed Cassie's mom, who's 5'7", by the way. I don't think I've ever seen a Marvel villain that short. Like, is that meant to be intimidating? Like, what's he gonna do? Dance around a pot of gold? The villain keeps having the same nightmare over and over again, that in the future, 3 women will beat his tiny ass up. Introducing the 3 Spider-Women. But just look at this action scene though. What is this? She just gently taps his ribs, as we have the black, white, and Mexican Spider-Man. Hiya! Honestly, at this point, you might as well add Aquafina as the Asian Spider-Man. So bro wakes up and plans to kill the 3 women before they get their power so he can stay alive. And to do this, he kills a chick by poisoning her and gets a password that can track out the people's location to find the 3 women. Meanwhile, when Cassie's on the job, she gets another vision a coworker will die in a car crash, so when given the chance, she tries to prevent it. She'd be like, hey, can I drive? But he's like, I'm a misogynist, woman can't drive. And despite the vision showing he'll crash, she's like, alright, maybe I'm Delulu. Then bang, bro dies. And Cassie is now convinced she can see into the future. I'm not gonna lie, the dialogue in this film is terrible, because a coworker literally says to her, there's nothing you could have done. Like, who says that when someone just died? Like, oh, you're sad? There's nothing you could have done. Meanwhile, the tiny villain tracks down the 3 women who in the year 2003 are all teenagers, when in reality, they're all in their 20s and look like teachers in elementary school. So the villain heads off to kill them. Meanwhile, Cassie decides to see an expert who tells her she's completely fine and that she's Delulu and needs some rest. But when Cassie gets home, she sees a pigeon off itself, only to find out it's a vision into the future, and with Cassie opening the windows, the pigeon goes into her place instead of dying, making her realize she can not only see but change the future. And for no reason at all, Cassie feels the need to take the train, which coincidentally has all the 3 girls the villain is looking for. And with the villain on the way, Cassie sees a future where the villain kills all 3 girls. And honestly, what's with the choking? I think bro wanted to shoot a different kind of movie. And Cassie freaks out, which by the way, her reaction would look hella weird to any stranger that randomly sees us. Like, the hell is wrong with you? So Cassie's like, oh my gosh, you're all gonna die, you need to get out. Girl, I'm taking your skateboard. What? And by the time he gets there, the girls are off the train and Cassie sees his face, as one of them shouts, we're getting abducted. But Cassie then points out an off-brand Spider-Man from Wish. And do you know what they do? They start jogging. I'm not making this up. Anyone who watched the film knows they were jogging like it was a morning run. And then Cassie randomly gets arrested. Now, a white woman getting arrested by the police with no evidence except someone just yelling out, I think she's trying to abduct us, might actually be the most unrealistic part of the whole film. Then the Made in China Spider-Man strikes the police, so the girls start jogging again. Now let's think about this for a second. If the police arrest Cassie, then no one will protect the girls. But instead, the villain helps Cassie in giving time for the girls to escape by taking on the police. Interesting movie. But seriously though, why does bro keep choking the woman? And once outside, Cassie then casually commits a crime and steals a taxi driver's car, who by the way is a person of color in 2003. So he ain't got much, and she still took his car, basically ruining his life. And when the girls start arguing, Cassie literally tells them their voices are annoying and they need to shut up. So the girls' names are Maddie, Julia, and Anya. As Cassie discovers she's the wanted suspect, and nobody except them saw a dude in a cheap costume beating up the cops. Maddie then gets out her flip phone only for Cassie to chuck it out the window because the villain could use it to track them. Yo, I don't care who you are. If you throw and break my phone, we're squaring up. And the phone back in 2003 was not cheap. She could have easily just told her not to use it, but instead breaks it on top of stealing a car. Now the villain continues to search for the girls while Cassie takes them to the woods where she ends up explaining her powers. Then decides to just leave them there because she wants to check on a few things for a couple of hours when they could have just went together, telling them to stay there and not move while expecting them to listen. And you know what Cassie does for the hours she's away from them? She opens her mother's suitcase like she hasn't done it 1,000 times, recognizing the villain's face and that it was taken in Peru. There's literally scenes prior to her looking at her mom's suitcase, so why couldn't she recognize the villain on a train instead of acting shocked and wasting time now? Meanwhile, the girls get hungry and they ain't about to stay hungry for a stranger they just met, so they go out of the woods to find the nearest diner to get some food. And that made sense until Julia started oogling the guy, so Maddie's like, let's go talk to them. Now keep in mind, they almost died today and went for a life-threatening traumatic experience. So if you nearly died, would you even be in the mood to get flirty and talk to some boys? I don't think so. Like, I get the villain is 5'7", but can you at least be more affected by what happened today? And how is it already in the papers? It's still the same day, like a day has not passed since it happened. And instead of asking them, bro just sees 3 girls and calls the police, which ends up getting tracked, so the villain goes to their location. And when Cassie comes back, the girls are gone, so she thinks something bad happened only to find them dancing. So she's like, ayo, what the fuck? I saved your ass and you out here dancing? Get down. So they're like, okay, alright. Then bro walks in and cracks Julia's neck and back. Yeet. Ow, owie. And again, why does this film keep showing choking? Like, we get it, director, you like being choked. But it was only a vision, so Cassie decides to make a different plan. Meanwhile, the girls decide to dance on the table, so I guess this is just the most chill diner ever because nobody tells them off. And with Cassie on her way, the girls are like, oh my gosh, let's all dance on a table. That's so fun. Yes. And by the time the villain comes, Cassie tries to kill him with a car, which doesn't belong to her, by the way, and she now destroyed a diner, ruining a family-owned business. But the villain lonely, so he grabs her hand and was unable to poison her properly. And when they get away, Cassie goes full Karen and rages at them. But honestly, outside of the dancing, you can't blame them for trying to find food when they're hungry, and plus you left them in the woods. If you didn't want them to wander off that badly, you should have taken them home to keep them safe instead of ditching them and going by yourself. Then bro asks for intel on Cassie and finds out she's the researcher's daughter, the researcher he betrayed. While Cassie's fed up and tells him to go to their parents or the police. And I'm not making this up, Anya says she can't go to the police or else she'll get deported because she's Mexican. And they all have circumstantial reasons why they don't talk to their parents. So Cassie's like, I guess I'm adopting them. And when the trio is asleep, she goes back to the diner and meets the tiny Spidey, who decides to answer all of her questions. But like, why? You're only helping her by giving her more information. Yo, this movie's actually bad. I struggle to watch through this whole film without getting distracted. Like, what kind of Marvel film is this? Cassie then teaches CPR in case of emergency, then hands the kids off to her coworker because she wants to visit Peru for a week to find some answers. So she goes to Peru. Yo, how funny would it be if she went all the way there and finds nothing? But she then meets the spider tribe leader who's been waiting for her all this time and gets Cassie to find peace within herself by doing a ritual to see her mom in the past. So to get the full therapy experience, she sees her mother die, but also finds out the reason her mom went to Peru was to find a cure for Cassie since she's told the baby will have neuromuscular disorder. Then Cassie cries like, I hated you for going to Peru when you're pregnant, but you went for me? Then Cassie finds peace and the answer she was looking for, which is great, but why not ask the chief to get rid of the villain himself, or at least team up together or something? So bro knows everything that's going on and not going to do anything about it and just be chilling in Peru? And coincidentally, the entire time Cassie was gone, the short king couldn't find the trio. Meanwhile, the co-worker's sister-in-law is pregnant and her water breaks the same day Cassie's meant to come back. What a coincidence. So they rush to the hospital ASAP, but Maddie's face gets caught on CCTV, allowing the villain to find their location to kill them. And when Cassie gets back, she sees a future where her co-worker, sister-in-law, and the trio all blow up in a car explosion. So she heads to them to prevent it. Wait, she's still using the stolen taxi? How did she not get caught? And you know what she does next? She steals an ambulance truck because girl thinks she's in GTA. This isn't Madam Web, it's Madam Theft. The cars then randomly stop with wannabe Spider-Man ready to blow their car up. And just when he's about to do it, Cassie hits him with a car again. She's like, damn. And the truck lands perfectly fine, of course. This is just the most realistic film ever. Then Cassie gets the girls and tells the coworker, like, don't worry about it, you're safe now because you're not with us anymore. Which makes the villain just not that evil. Like, wouldn't a real villain use the coworker as bait and blackmail in exchange for the girls or something? Anyways, Cassie tries to copy That's So Raven. Like, girl, she did it first. Why are you copying her? As Cassie sees a future, they can get rescued by a helicopter. So they go inside private property and Cassie instructs them to use flares to light up the fireworks to destroy this place and hopefully the villain with it. Now, this film makes me ask, what is a superhero? Because Cassie stole a taxi and ambulance truck, destroyed a diner, and now committing arson to destroy another person's property, as the fireworks conveniently hits the villain but not them. And when the gang gets to the helicopter, this man pops out and uses a firework to destroy it. And guess what he does to Cassie? Yup, he chokes her. The villain has used choking a total of 6 times in this film as a fighting skill. And with the trio about to fall down, Cassie shows a new ability of her powers while the villain just stands there doing nothing for a minute. And it's only until Cassie saves all the girls from falling when the villain finally decides to do something. Now, I'm not making this up. After that punch, he does nothing but walk towards her, while Cassie making it super obvious she's planning something by continuously looking back at heavy metal. And when the villain gets close enough, he gets hit and falls to his death. Bro, no wonder people hated this movie. What kind of ending to a fight is that? I'm telling you, he just stood there for a minute, then does one punch, then starts walking slowly and fell to his death. What kind of superhero movie fight scene is that? As a result of all this, Cassie falls to the river and gets hit with a firework, making her blind but is safe from drowning by the trio, who then performs CPR. Meanwhile, the NPC successfully gives birth as Cassie goes from copying That's So Raven to a wannabe Professor X. As the movie ends with Cassie saying the trio will make awesome superheroes in the future. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a bad superhero film, but is this the worst film ever made that people online claim it to be? No, I don't think so. Is this Morbius bad? Yes. But is this Dragon Ball Evolution bad? No, absolutely not. Now, I feel like Dakota Johnson was trying really hard to save the bad dialogue, but the actors can only do so much when you have to go with the script. Overall, it had bad plot, bad pacing, no character development, poor dialogue, and terrible fight scenes in a superhero film. But again, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree and comment your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. It's been your boy KC, and yeah, till next time.